now. Aaron, welcome to the pre-show.
It's good to be here.
So we have our brand new Blue Yeti mic. Did I tell you what happened to our last Blue Yeti mic?
You said it that you need to scoot that over.
I don't care.
Fair enough. It stopped working.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I did read that. Yeah.
So, but Amazon. It's no wonder that retail stores across the land are going out of business.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever tried to return anything to a retail store, sometimes it doesn't go so well.
Yeah.
Amazon, you say, hey, this thing broke. They're like, hey, send it back, free of charge. We've already got a new one on the way to you, free of charge.
Yeah, they're quite good.
Yeah. So
it's funny. I was watching. What were we watching? Yeah, Futurama of all things. There's an episode where they make. They're laughing hysterically at people who are investing in Amazon stock, and I thought to myself, "Wow." But that's the way it was when Amazon first started. It was
they didn't turn a profit for years,
right?
And,
and they lost tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the worm has turned, now Macy's and Sears and many other BM stores are.
How long for this world do you think the Town Center Mall is?
Well, they just lost their Subway out of there.
For those who don't know, I can't imagine why you wouldn't know out there in listener land where the Town Center Mall is. This is the mall in Charleston, our great capital city in West Virginia.
It is. I remember when the mall first opened. It was 3 or 4 floors, and I'd never been in a multi-floored mall.
Right.
And I'd never been in a glass elevator, and I'd never seen indoor trees and a fountain like that.
It was very impressive.
I couldn't believe it. We were baffled at this. And that's where Computerland was. There was KB Toys, I believe, was in there. The bookstores, the whole 9 yards. Eventually, I think there was a Walden Soft in there. So for computer stuff, it was great. And they had an awesome arcade. They had a Aladdin's Castle on the top floor. Do you remember the Aladdin's Castle?
I never once went in there.
On the top floor.
Was that in the food court?
It was.
Okay, I did go in there.
It was the top floor, and that particular arcade specialized in laser games. And they had a lot of that's one of the few places I ever saw. Vegas Battle, Cliffhanger.
Did you say Vegas Battle?
Vegas Battle, BEGA.
Is that I don't know if I played that. Is that a top-down shooter?
It's a shooter. It's a picture. It was the old gimmick where they streamed laser footage behind graphics.
Right.
But I remember the thing that always caught in my eye and alarmed me about that game was in the demonstration sequence before you play. It shows a guy like exploding or being ripped apart. It's just super gruesome because they took it right out of some anime. And man, I remember thinking, holy smokes, that's a little bit too much for me.
Right.
The game itself is nothing to write home about. And they had Sega's, what was that thing called? It had 2 names. It was Space Ranger or somewhere. It was another one of those games where it was video overlaid or graphics overlaid on footage, but it was sort of a behind the ship view, and it was. And I remember they used footage from Wrath of Khan in it.
Oh,
I remember that in particular.
I wonder how they. You think they paid for that footage?
Oh yeah. Okay. It was Sega.
Okay.
But anyway, that mall specialized in the laser stuff, so I liked going up there. But it wasn't my favorite arcade. But it was cool to see the laser stuff,
right.
But then the mall has really. Charleston as a whole, as a city, has went down the pipes.
Well, you know what's happened is that the stores and things are still there. They've just moved across to South Charleston and Southridge.
Well,
because if you ever drive around there, they are not hurting for customers.
Well, the problem is Southridge is not Charleston.
It's South Charleston.
It's not really even that. I mean, it's not the South Charleston I grew up knowing. You'd have to drive. How long does it take you to get there? 15 minutes out of town to get to it?
Well, by the time you go through traffic and stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I hate it. I hate Southridge. It's a nightmare. The road up there is a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. The once you get on 119 itself, it's not bad, but they made the access road to it is just a residential street almost.
The reason that place is so popular is that it draws a lot of people from the other side of the county. Was it up there? Man and Logan, all that stuff, and.
Well, it's also the only place that you can go for certain things. I mean,
yeah, but I'm saying there's a reason why it won. I guess is what I'm saying. It drew because no one, I guess, wanted to go downtown, and because one thing about the town center, you had to pay for parking. You had to go through it was right in the middle of downtown.
Yeah, And there's also room for bigger stores too. Like you couldn't put a Cabela's in the town center mall.
Well, the Cabela's didn't exist though when that thing was built.
Right.
The mall, I think a lot of malls are sort of in that same predicament.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not just Charleston. I mean, the Huntington Mall's got the same issues.
When I lived in Lexington, I lived right across the street from the Lexington Mall, and it died. When I was there, it was barely breathing, and it eventually died, and was just taken over. And then I work right across the street from the Kiowa Mall, which is off of the Cannonsburg exit, and it's dead as a doornail. There's nothing in it hardly at all. Mm-hmm. It's the deadest mall I've ever seen. You just walk around in there, and it's like, why are you letting me in this mall? It's almost like an urban explorer situation. So, yeah, and what really makes me sad is, not to bring it back to video games, but the reason I went to malls is to play in arcades. Mm-hmm. The Huntington Mall used to have 2 arcades, Goldmine 1 and 2. They were the best arcades. The Kanawha Mall had a great arcade, tremendous arcade. Of course, like I said, the Town Center Mall had a great arcade.
St. Albans Mall had an arcade.
St. Albans, the Twilight Zone, was a tremendous arcade with an awesome facade over the front. And they're all gone. When they shut down one of the gold mines, and there was just one, then they changed it to a Tilton World. And it was crap. And it was never the same when it finally shut down a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And now there's no arcade around. Where's the nearest arcade? Can you think of any?
Not in this. Oh, well, there are some places that you can go, like, if you go up 79 towards Maryland, there's a retro games shop. It's at the, something campground exit.
Is it in West Virginia?
It's in West Virginia. And it's a cool retro game. And then in the back room, they've got maybe, 10 arcade machines selling free play. But arcades like Goldmine, nothing. There's nothing here.
It's sad. I know that Cincinnati's got some, and I hear Flack and talking about them. It's in Chicago.
And there's places like Dave & Buster's that are sort of like that.
Yeah, but that's not even close to the same.
Yeah.
Or like Jillian's. And, and of course, the problem we've got here is this state can't support any business.
Right.
So you can forget about having I'm amazed that there are gaming stores around at all.
Yeah.
I don't know how they stay in business.
Of gaming store, I visited today for the first time the Second Chance Gaming Saloon.
The one in Milton?
The one in Milton.
Yeah, I was just down there the other day.
I brought approximately 4,000 collectible card game cards.
You bought them?
I brought from my home to there.
Really?
There were...
what games?
There were about 1,500 Magic cards. Mm-hmm. There were about 3,000 Star Trek collectible card gaming cards.
Oh, gosh, I got some of those.
And,
I didn't know you played that.
Yeah, and quite a few of the Middle-earth collectible card gaming cards, which Chad and I endeavored to learn how to play, but actually never did. It was a difficult game.
I don't know how popular Magic still is, so I can't say anything about that. Mm-hmm. But I'm wagering the trade-in value for your other cards was quite low.
I got, for all 4,000 cards, I got $50. And none of those cards were any good, because I went through them all before I went there.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy to rid myself of crap and get $50 in my pocket.
How much space is 4,000 cards?
Well, they were stacked in, you have those short boxes that you put cards in.
Yeah.
I had a cardboard container with 9 of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet you were happy to get those out the door.
Absolutely.
Because you already had, I'm guessing you had little to no sentimental value. It's been a long time since you played Magic, right?
None. Yeah, and I kept a binder full of my best cards, which I don't know why I should have kept it out. But
what you got there?
This is what I bought at the
tremendous
the store.
Bump and jump.
The guy there was really nice, and
television.
he gave me such a great deal for those cards. I wanted to buy something from him.
Uh-huh.
So this was $10. I thought it was a little steep.
Yeah,
but
it's got the overlay.
It's got
one.
Actually, this. Yeah, it is the overlay. It's got no end label.
Wow. You sort of, I think maybe you got slammed a little bit, but hey, it's new, so you got that going for you.
And I didn't argue with him because that's probably going to be the only time I ever set foot in there.
I didn't know you had an Intellivision.
I don't.
Oh.
And I wanted to do my part, and this was the only thing that even remotely interested me in the shop.
I've got 2. I could bring one over.
We'll play Bump and Jump to our heart's content.
I'll have to say,
I like that art, though.
I've never seen this for the Intellivision.
Right.
I don't think it's one that I have. I don't remember. I certainly don't have the box. So you may have something there. I mean, again, I I love bump and jump, actually. I didn't know you were into it, actually.
I love bump and jump.
I love me some bump and jump.
And I like the NES port better than the arcade port. I think the graphics are better. The sound is better. But I'm willing to give the Intellivision version a shot. Because
Intellivision is a unique system. I saw a guy out there that has taken the plug and play, I believe it's Intellivision, and he's converting it and putting it in an Intellivision. Or it could, I take that back. I think what he's doing is he's taking the plug and play and he's put a Raspberry Pi in it. I think that's what he's done. I think it was the Intellivision. It was either the Intellivision. Remember the last Intellivision that came out?
The Intellivision lives.
Well, it was the one. It was the Mini.
Right.
It's a plug and play machine. It had the two controllers. It was smaller. It didn't take cartridges. It had X amount of ROMs built in.
Were there multiple iterations of the plug and play system?
Good question. With the Intellivision, I'm not sure. There may have been. The most recent one, they were selling it like Dollar General.
Right.
And it came out at the same time the Coleco one came out. Right? I like to have had the Intellivision one, if for any reason, is that the controllers they were new controllers. And the thing is, they screwed up when they made these, and they're not, you can't take the controllers out and put them in an old one without doing a bunch of rewiring and crap that, bleh. But I think a guy's taken the shell of that and is putting a Pi in them and putting all the ROMs on them, which would be, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I have a feeling that with this whole Pi thing, we're going to be seeing a whole heck of a lot of people ripping the guts out of old machines and just putting a Pi in there.
Yeah. I think I'm going to sell the one I made for the show.
The Duke?
It's funny.
El Duque?
I did some experimentation this week. I told my buddy at work, because he saw me mess with this thing. I said, man, I'm glad this is over. Honestly, I feel like I just did this. And I was getting ready for work the other day, and I looked over on my shelf, and I had the Xbox there, the real one. And I had my wireless Logitech controller plugged into it. It's got a little receiver, and the receiver has card slots in it, because the Xbox had 2 card slots. And I got to look at it, and I was like, you know something? So I took it, unplugged it, and plugged my gimmick in, the Raspberry Pi.
Now, I just want to make sure it's a zero that you put into this thing, right? Okay.
I plugged this thing into. I made it just because I didn't want to destroy anything. I have tons of old Xbox parts. No one's buying my parts, by the way. And I just rigged one up. I just took a soldering iron and rigged it up so I could. So I now have an Xbox to USB converter. That's right. It's not too hard to wire one up. So I plugged the receiver into it. I plugged the converter into the Pi. And what I wanted to see was that the Zero put out enough power to make it work.
Right.
And it does.
Oh.
So what I can do is I can take another Zero, and I could literally build the Zero into the receiver of this Xbox wireless joystick, run the HDMI and the power out the back of the receiver, and the joystick would be wireless. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on.
Picture an Xbox wireless joystick.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah.
The Xbox wireless joystick has a receiver.
Right.
That hooks into the Xbox. We've established that the Xbox control pad, the Xbox joystick ports are just USB ports with a wacky front end, but they're USB ports. With that in mind, I'm thinking, well, anything that plugs into these ports has to be a USB device, which means it's going to work the same way. With that in mind, I thought, if I open this thing up and put a Raspberry Pi Zero in it, and wire the joystick, the port, instead of going into the Xbox, the connector goes into the Raspberry Pi.
Right.
And then what comes out the back of the wireless receiver is the HDMI cable and a power cord. The same thing would be coming out because they're hooked directly to the Pi.
I don't understand how you can. Oh, got it.
Yeah, and so the end result is you can play Raspberry Pi without the connector sticking out. It's totally wireless.
That is fantastic.
But then it's not.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. It works, by the way. It works perfectly. I could do it. Here's the problem I have with all this stuff, okay? What's the point? That's my problem with it. What's the difference? I could wire this up into a wireless joystick receiver. I could do that. All right? And so all I've got is an Xbox wireless controller and an Xbox wireless receiver. That's it. But what's the difference between doing that and just taking the Raspberry Pi and buying a wireless joystick and putting it in it? There is no difference, is there?
True.
Except for aesthetics.
Right.
That's the part I can't get over.
Right.
Because I look on eBay and people are selling these things and they're making pretty good bread.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm like, man, I could probably make... I just have trouble getting excited about it because it seems so pointless to me.
And well, one thing that I never thought about the whole wireless gimmick, because I was like, what's the point of having it? Because then you run into the same issue that you have with like the NES Classic or whatever, where you've got this little thing and it's attached to a controller, but you still have to run a wire to your TV.
Exactly. So wireless. Let's face facts. Here's a Raspberry Pi 3, the best one, right? Mm-hmm. You go to eBay, you buy you a $5 or $10 wireless gamepad of your choice.
Right.
You plug it in the USB port.
Mm-hmm.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
That's your system.
Right.
So to do all this extra work, which is the same reason I couldn't figure out a good reason to put it in the Xbox. It's cool. It's a conversation piece or whatever, but it's utterly pointless because you could do the same thing effectively with the same amount of cabling that you're doing with the.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree with you wholeheartedly. As much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah. But for a second there, you thought it sounded really cool.
I thought it sounded awesome, and I was yeah. Wow, wireless stick with the red.
So I'm going to try to sell this one I've got. I've got a number in my head that I want to get for it, and then if it sells for that much, these can be reproduced ad nauseum and legally.
Can have a little cottage industry there.
But I'm trying to get out the Xbox game, so. We'll see. I'm also thinking about putting one in an Xbox. I've got so many Xboxes lying around, and I was reading that you can. I know this is barely on topic, but
this is the pre-show. You can talk about what you want.
Ponder this, if you will. A Raspberry Pi 3 has 4 USB ports. Mm-hmm. The Xbox has 4 front panel USB or USB style ports that are actually Xbox ports, easily wired up. I just make those USB ports 4 of them, and then you've got your built-in. You get an extender for the Ethernet, which is already built onto the board. You get an extender for the video, which is out the back, and you can get a SCSI, an IDE adapter to actually hook up the DVD-ROM. I could do all these things. I could even use the power supply, and you would have a Raspberry Pi in an classic Xbox case. Get the LED light up the whole hours. Again, though, the problem I can't get past is I don't know why in God's name I would do that, because effectively you're making something that big, this big.
Right.
So it's aesthetics, I guess, but I don't know.
There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about the original Xbox.
I don't know, but it's kind of neat. I like the Xbox. I thought it was sleek looking. It's big, but it's cool looking. It's got the power inside. If anyone out there in video land has a cunning plan, let me in on it. Because I think the best parts of these programmable little gimmicks yes, they're great for games. They're tremendous. But I think the best things you can do to them are things that are not gaming related.
Sure.
I just don't know what those things are.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole magazine that comes out every month that talks about them.
Everyone makes fun of me. They're like, I used to put MAME on everything. All my TV boxes and my, you're going to MAME this. I remember my buddies were always like, are you going to MAME your watch? You're going to put MAME. Because for a while, I did it because at first it was because you could do it. It was like awesome. And then I did it because I'd done it for so long. It was just natural. But now it's dawned on me how I can play arcade games at I've got an arcade machine. And so it's hard for me to stop.
Oh, yeah. I hear you.
I don't know, Bo.
So, it's a new year. First show 2017?
Yeah, I had a good time on New Year's this year. Have we had a show since that? We haven't.
We haven't.
We should talk about the party.
Yeah.
Our buddy Matt had a New Year's party. It was a great party. I really enjoyed it.
I really had a good time, too.
Man, I had a few.
Kind of brought me back to the old days.
It did. It was very similar to the old days. And just sang and played Rock Band all night and drank plenty of good Kentucky Maker's Mark. Tremendous bourbon. I drank a quarter of a bottle.
Tell the audience about your special cocktail.
I don't know what you're talking about.
When you mix the Makers with Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. You can mix Makers. Normal, I'll be honest with you, mixing Makers is sort of a sin. But I have developed a taste for, I usually mix with soda, with Pepsi or something, but I developed a taste for probably 2/3 makers to a third. That's not true. Probably a little about half and half.
Mm-hmm. Kind of an Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I had a few. Got a ride home. Everything was square, and had a real good time, man. Shot some pool.
Yeah.
You played some VR.
Yeah, man. I spent about an hour in there with that that headset.
You seemed like you were having a real good time back there, Boo.
I tell you, if it wasn't so gosh darn expensive, but
you need to start a VR podcast, and then just there you go.
In this podcast, I'm going to talk about how you need to support me so I can buy a VR system. So it can't fail.
If that's the way it worked, people would be like, "This is a podcast based on heroin."
Right. But I was thinking if I could put a camera right there, and then put a camera on that thing coming down right by the light there, and I'd have my own little space. I just need to find that. I need about $300 for a new video card, and then $800, of course, for the headset.
Yeah,
$1,100. What's that?
Just wait about another 6 months, and you could get Brent's cheap when he upgrades.
That's true.
Because he can't help himself. Brent, in case you didn't notice this last time we was on to talk about, he's a VR banana. He's nuts about it. So.
Yeah.
But I had a good time. I had a good time at the party. But yeah, it's a new year, man. It's a new year.
So you got any New Year's resolutions?
It's always about the same. I do. I've got some. I'm going to try to. I remember you ever seen a movie called what was the name of it? Had a Bridget Fonda in it. Point of No Return.
Never seen it.
It was based.
Not even sure who Bridget
an American,
Fonda is.
very attractive young lady.
Okay.
It was based on a French film that we call La Femme Nikita.
I saw that on USA.
Yeah, well, no, that was also based on the film. The film was tremendous. I believe Point of No Return was like an Americanized version.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. But Bridget said something that she said, she was freaking out, and she said, "Listen, you've got to remember one thing, never mind the little things." And I've always thought about that. And I used to not mind the little things, but I think in the last couple of years, the little things have started bothering me more. So this year, I'm going to reaffirm my not minding the little things. I'm also going to try to lose some weight, of course. I'm going to, try to do a good job being a dad, boyfriend, and otherwise, a lot of people had a horrible year last year because a lot of people died and stuff. I felt like it was a pretty good year for me personally. So I'm just going to keep the ball rolling, man. As best I can. The podcast was a lot of fun, so I don't have a lot of complaints. I'm pretty happy. So just kind of keep it going. That's sort of my thing. What about you?
I'm going to try to waste as little time as I can. I'm going to try and be as productive as I can this year. It includes getting up early. I bought one of these lights. You might have heard about them. Like you said, it's an alarm clock sort of thing. 30 minutes before you're set to wake up, the light comes on at its dimmest setting. And then every 10 minutes, the light gets a little bit brighter. And what this is supposed to simulate is the sun coming up. And that triggers some sort of a psychosomatic response in your brain, even while you're still asleep, that, hey, it's time to start thinking about getting up. Because you know how much it sucks getting up when it's dark. And so I'm hoping, and today was the first day, but I was up at 6:30, and I was not groggy. And so I'm hoping that I can keep on this schedule even on the weekends, getting up early, and just making sure that I'm not spending so much time just mindlessly browsing Reddit and Facebook.
Let me ask you, generally on any given night, what would you say your average amount of sleep is per night?
I go to bed between 10:30 and 11 every single night except for the podcast night.
Mm-hmm. And you get up usually?
I get up at, up until now, I've gotten up at 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. So you're usually about 8 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So but what's your goal?
My goal
is 8 hours is supposed to be what you get.
Yeah, my goal is to get just a little bit less. Just a little bit less. I'm, part of the diet is I'm cooking a lot more of my food, so in the morning gotta have enough time to make my omelet and all that stuff. And so if I get up at 6:30, I won't have to rush, and I'll be able to do all that stuff. And then on the weekends, I'll have all kinds of time. Like today, we were off school because of snow. Mm-hmm. So I was up. I'd already walked a mile on the treadmill, done a bunch of stuff, like my lesson plans for the next week, all before 8 o'clock. It was great.
I usually go to bed. I usually go to bed by 12:30.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't fall asleep until around 1. I usually wake up a bunch of times during the night and ultimately get up around 6:30. But often I've always had trouble sleeping, and that your device would probably get smashed violently because the light doesn't wake me up. I've never slept well. I mean, I don't know if it's part of it's because of being heavy. My dad's the same way.
Do you think that you have that thing?
Sleep apnea?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's that. Like I said, my dad's the same way. I have a real incredibly I think when I lived in Huntington, I lived over a bar. I lived right beside a bar and upstairs, and it really screwed me up mentally because people would come up the stairs in my building and bang on my door all the time, and I got paranoid. It really messed me up for a while. It was the most screwed up I've ever been in my whole life. Was living down there, and
was that a big part about why your college career was less than successful?
It didn't help.
I was going to say, there's no way I could have survived college if I was in that
environment. It didn't help, and I lived right across the street from a bus stop too, and I mean a bus station.
Yeah, the Greyhound station.
And so it was always noisy and crazy down there. It was just a bad time, and my sleep never recovered. I don't remember having sleep problems before that, but I've never been able to sleep very well since. And so, my body, I don't need that much sleep. I mean, I seldom get more. If I get 6, I'm like, this is a major accomplishment. So, but I don't really get that tired. And I drive a long way too. You know that. So.
There's a bunch of people that don't need 8 hours of sleep to function.
Once a week, like even when I try to sleep in on the weekends, I just can't do it. Plus the kid, So, I'm lucky though, I guess. You think I'd get more done?
Did you read Flack's New Year's resolutions?
Let me see if I got this right because I didn't read them, but I read the results of what he was doing. He has vowed to toss in the garbage a bunch of stuff. Is that the plan?
So he's getting rid of 5 things a day. Now, it doesn't mean toss in the garbage. It means donate or toss in the garbage. So
I need to get in touch with Flack because he's probably getting rid of some almost what bananas here. He's probably getting rid of some stuff that needs to go over to Sweet Aaron.
He gave away a Star Wars cabinet.
I saw that. That's the one thing I did saw, and while I could not drive, the last thing I need is another. I just tossed the Defender. I just tossed the Defender's cabinet a couple, 6 months ago. So the last thing I need, but that's a pretty good looking cabinet too. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking about that. Could I get rid of 5 things a day? I probably could.
Oh man, I could get rid of 5 things a day from now until doomsday. I was trying to get my Amazon Fire Sticks remote just died the other night. Dead as a door now.
And they're so cheap. Well, it's probably a replace the whole thing.
It's funny. I haven't even looked at because we started using our phone as the remote, which is hilarious. I used to make fun of Brent for that. But we had a couple Rokus, and so tonight I was looking for the cords for the Roku to see if by the way, both of them broke. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. But I've got a box. I've got so many boxes sitting in my floor in my room, just full of cabling. The amount of cabling I have is unbelievable. It's ridiculous. But I never throw it out. Because and the second I do, you know how people say, the second I get rid of it, I'll need it. That is a fact, man. It's happened to me so many times, I think of stuff I threw away 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? I need that. It's something that should have been thrown away, But, I couldn't do what Flack's doing, just toss stuff. I don't think I could have gotten rid of a Star Wars cabinet. That Defender cabinet I had was pretty beat down. It was really beat down and water damage. It's not like I just tossed a new one.
Right.
So I don't want any hate mail, but Star Wars cabinet, man, it's an awesome game too. Defender, I've never been a big fan. Star Wars, the Vector. Oh,
but I mean, this was it was a bare cabinet.
I know. I saw it, but hey, good luck to Flack, man. I'm guessing Flack's got a pretty big pad. He's got a room devoted to Star Wars. He's got a big bunch of lunch boxes. He's probably got a nice pad. My pad is small, and it's my obsessive keeping of computer stuff is costing me. It's costing me my ability to walk around in my.
What about moving some of that stuff out to the outbuilding?
The outbuilding is packed with stuff, and I've got I meant to do some cleaning and moving during the break, and I didn't do much. But it's got to be done. So I'm going to take it to Flack with her.
We need to film like the process of your purging.
It would be a very ugly film.
It's like a reverse American Pickers.
It'd be more like Hoarders. Is what it'd be like. American Chuckers. It's people chucking stuff out in the street.
Chris Folds wrote in with his New Year's resolution. You know what that is?
Chris Folds?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any idea.
320 by 256.
That's it, huh?
That's his resolution.
It can't be to be busier. I know that's that guy's everywhere, man. Chris is everywhere. Him and Dream, the whole staff.
Yeah.
It's amazing the stuff that they kick out, and I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
I can barely do anything. I'm useless. I'm almost utterly useless.
Let's see. Oh, here's something interesting. 25 years ago this month, 1992, something happened at Atari. Can you guess what it was?
No, what was
So
the
in 1992, 25 years ago this month, so it would have been December, or maybe, probably December 1992. So, a big change happened at Atari.
Well, 92 was real late in the game for Atari. That's well past. Did they launch? Is that the? That I'm trying to think when they launched the Jaguar. That would have been close to there. Is it an ownership change?
Nope, it's the date that they dropped support for the 2600, 7800, and its 8-bit computer systems.
Really? It's 92. They kept it that long, eh?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Because the 2600 launched, 77, 78, something like that.
It had a long life.
Can you imagine? And the computers shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
they dropped support.
92.
You know, I don't know if have you. This reminds me. Have you listened to the most recent Retro Asylum?
I have not yet.
I listened to it this week, and what they did it was just them chatting back and forth most of the episode. But one of the questions they asked is if you could name one thing in retro gaming history you could change, what would it be? And of course, the first thing that popped into my head was to go in and bludgeon the upper management of Commodore early on, and they all said that too. But the next thing that popped into my head was to go in there and kick the crap out of Atari and Ray Kazar and all those guys that drove it into the dirt.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, Amiga #1. I'm always going to be an Amiga boy, but Atari had it all. Mm-hmm. They had it all, and they
had Jeff Minter.
They blew it. They blew it.
Or Jeff Miner. I always get those two guys confused.
I was bad with it. They had a computer line that was solid at the time. I mean, there's people sort of. I don't think the Atari computer line gets as much dab as it should. I mean, that was a quality line.
Yeah.
I mean, not just for games. I mean, you could do stuff with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it didn't have a GUI interface it was not on the Amiga's level, but it was you got to think it was released
1978.
It was old, you know.
And really, Atari could have. What happened was they were still making so much money on the 8-bit machines. They were slow to see the change coming.
That's part of it. But I think a big part of the problem is the fact that they put a guy in charge who didn't know anything about the game. Mm-hmm. I don't mean games. I mean the game.
Right.
They had their arcade division in infighting with their home market division. They had marketers that were stupid. You know, think of what would happen when those artists came up and said, "Listen, we want some credit for these games we're making." And if Atari had said, "Yeah, okay, we're going to give you credit, maybe kick you in on some money," wow, there'd be no Activision, and all those talented guys would have stayed with Atari.
Very true. Very true.
You know, so I mean, that's another thing that could have easily been changed. From back in the day. It's sad. I think about this though. It's just nothing you do about it. It makes me angry because now Atari's they're a joke.
Yeah. Well, they aren't what they were.
No,
they're not
certainly
anything.
not. That's interesting though. That's a good fact.
Yeah. So I got one more thing to talk about. What if I told you that you could purchase a backpack for your son that was based on a classic arcade machine? Feast your eyes on this. The Space Invaders backpack.
Does it actually play?
It does not actually play.
It looks like there's a guy putting a quarter in it.
You can put a quarter in it, but it will not play. But
that's sweet. I like it. If it played, it would be perfect.
Yeah.
I just saw a thing on TV that is it LG or one of the big manufacturers came up with this foldable, rollable LED screen or LCD display. And there was a guy rolling it and stuff. That's all you need for the backpack.
Right.
One sheet of that on the back, your business. It'd be great.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the thing Brent wore as Halloween.
The
Everybody dressed
Pac-Man
up
costume. I wish I would have pulled the graphic down on that.
It was
Miss
Pac-Man. Yeah. What a nerd. What a nerd. How did this guy get on the Christmas card? I can't even figure that out.
He was in the right place at the right time.
Christmas. Every Christmas needs a Scrooge.
All right. It's time to start the show. So we'll see you then.
Adios.